Hi, this is Talking Europe on France 24. I'm Catherine Nicholson at the European Parliament in Brussels. Now, today's programme comes as France hands over the baton of the Presidency of the Council of the European Union. It is a rotating role that every EU member state holds in turn for 6 months, meaning with 27 member states that it comes round once every 13 and a half years. Well, it is meant to be an opportunity for the country that holds the presidency to push its policy ideas and influence the agenda. But for France, the last 6 months have been dominated by the Russian war on Ukraine and, to an extent, France's own presidential and parliamentary elections. Well, today we're assessing President Macron's performance and looking ahead as France hands over the EU presidency to the Czech Republic. Joining us today are French MEP from the Greens group, Gwendoline Delbos-Corfield. Hello to you.
Hello.
And an MEP from the next country to take up the presidency, the Czech Republic, Andrej Kovařík, from President Macron's Renew Europe group. Hello.
Hello.
Well, thanks to both of you for being on the programme. I'd like to start off with a reminder of the start of the presidency. Emmanuel Macron spoke to the European Parliament back in January. This was a month before President Putin ordered his military to attack Ukraine, but Moscow was clearly already on the French leader's mind.
Sovereignty is a freedom. It is at the heart of our European project. It is also a response to the destabilizing forces at work on our continent. This is why we will continue. This is why we will continue with Germany, within the framework of the Normandy format, to seek a political solution to the conflict in Ukraine, which remains the source of current tensions. And your collective support is necessary to support our efforts.
President Macron speaking in Strasbourg back in January. Gwendoline Delbos-Corfield, come to you first as a French MEP. Emmanuel Macron, I think, there wasn't expecting Vladimir Putin to send his troops in a month later. I think a lot of people weren't. Did he, however, rise to the challenge of dealing with this war and also the EU presidency, which, as we know, is an important role?
I don't think it was his role to be specifically dealing with the Ukraine presidency. He had to do it with the other chief of governments in a collective role. On this, I think that collectively, I think they raised to the challenge. Indeed, we had been warned about this war, and we were not taking it seriously, but once it was there, I think the chief of governments did act. On the other hand, I think that Emmanuel Macron is suffering from a very French problem. It's not the only one of arrogance, and that he always thinks that, you know, him and France can change the world because we are the human rights country and we have invented everything. I think on this he was weak at various moments because he has this very big French illness of thinking that, you know, he could convince Putin of something. But I think that collectively European Union did raise to the challenge of Ukrainian war because it showed unity, and that was needed.
Andrej Kovařík, of course, coming from much closer to the part of the world where the war's happening, your perspective on how Emmanuel Macron handled this dual role of being French leader and holding the presidency during this time?
I think it is important to say that despite all the challenges, the European Union managed to guarantee the unity. The European Union was able to adopt 6 consecutive packages of sanctions, and I think this is something that is very unprecedented, and manage also to move on issues such as candidate status to Ukraine and Moldova. Obviously, there are doubts, including in the Czech Republic, for instance, on the level of engagement between, for instance, President Macron and the Russian President Putin, and the potential benefits of the diplomacy, but I think the key is the unity and also the unprecedented support that the European Union is showing towards Ukrainian people, but also Ukrainian government and Ukrainian president by providing military equipment, providing financial support, which is extremely important. So I think we're trying to actually meet the challenge, the enormous challenge that the Ukrainian war raises in front of us.
And just wondering if, to pick up on what Gwendoline Delbos-Corfield said about finding that Emmanuel Macron, in your view, has been arrogant regarding his ability to influence Putin and the war. Is that an opinion you would share?
I wouldn't call it arrogant. Maybe there were different expectations from various leaders in terms of what can be achieved by engaging in direct channels with the Russian president. We know that there were contacts between the French president and other leaders with the Russian president even before the war. But I think, in my view, the key turning point was the visit of the three main leaders, French president, the German chancellor, and the Italian prime minister in Kiev a couple of weeks ago, where I think many things were settled down, many things were explained, and I think it also helped to open the way for Ukraine and Moldova to receive, in the end, candidate status in the European Council meeting last week.
It certainly was the outcome that Ukraine was looking for, not assured at all 6 months earlier. The other aspect that I mentioned in my introduction there, the other issue that's come up during this 6 months, it was predicted, this was on the calendar beforehand, the French elections, both the presidential election in April and the parliamentary election just a few weeks after that. Gwendolyn Delbos-Corfield, a lot of people in France, other political actors, criticised the French government, saying you could have chosen to have this presidency at a different time because of these elections. Various voices, particularly on the left, saying, you know, this has hobbled France's influence in Europe through the presidency. Do you share that view? Emmanuel Macron certainly did have a difficult time in those two elections.
Yes, I think that it's always sad that you cannot give all the time that you need at your presidency, and being in your own elections, and not only one, presidential, then parliamentary. I mean, it takes a lot of time. That's just the case. So I do think that it didn't give the attention and the time necessary for Europe. Macron does very good speeches on Europe, well, and I would often be agreeing with these speeches, being a federalist myself. But then in various moments, but that also is a very big French illness, he will instrumentalize Europe to his own interest once he's in France. And this presidency was used for the election. I don't think it worked because then you had the Ukraine and all sorts of problems. And I also think that, well, France is going at the moment through a difficult moment, turmoil. It's really difficult. It's really a moment. I mean, 19 members of extreme right entered the parliament. It's a huge traumatise, and I don't think that French society is taking this seriously. I work on rule of law issues, and I'm very worried and concerned about France. And I think that it's also because, yes, we always have this thing of mixing everywhere. And, you know, just from time to time, we should take time to work on things seriously. And I think that it would have been good to have a very good French presidency. There was a lot of ambition, and that was good. We have very good civil servants to work on this. And things were achieved during this presidency because the French had such a big, ambitious agenda. But they could have done better. They could have been there more. They were often absent in parliament. Because they were too busy with the election. We even had people that were supposed to talk to us in parliament that were, in fact, people having their own elections as members of parliament or ministers at the time in France. So, yeah, I think it would have been better to dissociate both.
Andrej Kovařík, as I said, the Czech Republic's presidency now extending to the end of the year. One of the priorities, we're told, is to make climate and environment the drivers of this presidency, a priority including pushing the Fit for 55 package of EU climate laws, biodiversity and so on. The Czech Republic, traditionally not really known for specifically green credentials. So what are we going to see from the Czech Republic?
To a certain extent, it's also a question mark for me. I have to say, I think the current government is ambiguous in terms of where the climate ambition lies. We saw that the French presidency was able to conclude many of the 55 files only recently, at the end of the presidency, to get a final agreement of the member states. And I think only when we start the negotiations between the Parliament and the Council, we'll see what the Czech Republic, as a presidential country, is willing to do. Where is the ambition, and where is it going? But I agree that usually the Czechs are not among those pushing the hardest for the most ambitious climate goals.
And Gwendolyn Delbos-Corfield, I know that you're from the Greens group, so I imagine these climate issues are important to you, but also rule of law issues that you're wanting to see movement on in the next presidency and perhaps the presidency after that. Now, these are issues that have been going on for a long time, mainly concerning Hungary and Poland, where there are some big EU dossiers about degradation concerns there. What do you want to be achieved in the next 6 months?
I think we need the Czech presidency to be as confident and serious as the others. I was already a bit surprised when Czech presidency said that they would give some climate files to France or to Sweden, that comes just after. I think this is sad. They should be confident, and they should be confident also on the fact that they are today a stable member states, rule of law friendly, that does good work, and that they should push on this agenda. We need them to do hearings of Poland and Hungary. We often have the problem that when an East or Balkan member state comes for presidency, they will push on the side rule of law issues. It has often been the case, and we need Czech Republic not to act like that. I think that it's their ambition, but they need to trust themselves for doing it.
Just a few seconds then for a response from Ondřej Kovařík. Do you see this rule of law file being advanced in the next 6 months?
I think we should distinguish between maybe Poland and Hungary, because we also see the Visegrad force being split on the issue of Ukraine war. The Hungarian visibly willing not to be that hard in terms of our approach to Russia. So I think I would expect a split of the approach, but also I would have some doubts about the current Czech government being hard on Poland, because we know how close the parties of the Prime Minister and the Polish Prime Minister are. So this may be maybe some sort of a slowdown in the.
All right, so we will have to watch very closely. Thank you both very much for being with us for this programme. Gwendolyn Delbos-Corfield and Ondřej Kovařík. Thanks both.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for watching. Hope to see you soon here on France 24.